Right, I've decided that seeing as how the bow looks like it's going to be alright, what I'll try and do is shift it sideways at the grip to give me a decent string line. So what I'm going to do is carve away in line with the grain, sort of in this area, to try and narrow it a bit. I'll do it on the bandsaw to give me a nice clean flat edge. Steam it, try and bend it over. Now you can see I'm following the grain a lot better now. It's a lot narrower over a reasonable length so it can get some flex. And hey presto, I've also removed the knot completely. So that's all looking a lot better. Right, I'll get my steamer out and give it a damn good steaming. But right, game plan is to have me steam chest, 5 litre plastic tub, over this section, clamp this limb across here, and then when it's had a good half hour, 3/4 of an hour steaming, put a clamp across here and pull that limb across. There's not room to get the steam chest over the bow and do it in situ. So what I've done is I've worked out how I'm going to jig it up, but I'll have to take the bow, put it in the steam chest, then get it on here ASAP. There we go, steaming away like a good. Out of the steamer onto the jig, and you'll see I've clamped it to give it a little bit of overbend, because that will spring back a bit when I take the clamp off. It's always hard to judge how much, and it hasn't gone snap, crackle or pop, so hopefully we'll be alright. It's going to have a funny shaped grip, but you can always bulk it out with some leather or what have you. Right, it's had a couple of hours. I'll take this off, see how much it springs back, and then I'll leave it overnight and see if it creeps back further. I'll clamp a rule to the bench or something like that so we can actually measure it. Right, there we go. We can come back in the morning. Right, here we are the next morning. So you can see it's bounced back a little bit overnight. Still got quite a nice string line. And there's a cat. Now I've got my bit of magic string on the bow now, and we can see it's much better. You can see the alignment at the grip is much better. In fact, it's almost over too much this side, which is where the arrow will be. That will be the arrow pass side. But I've got loads of leeway. I can push the string across this way a bit, because the final knocks will be horn overlays, they won't be grooves in the side. Similarly, I can push it over this way a bit at this end. The other nice thing is that the string is now on the wood at all points. It's not hanging off the end of the bow. The other thing is the centre of the bow is here. Well, the grip's all up here, but the arrow path in theory would be there, but there's nothing to say it has to be an inch above the centre line. I can move it and say have the arrow pass there, and then you're gripping it here, which means it just means it's supported at a different place. Which gets us back to this whole thing about why does the bow rock on the tiller? Well, it depends where you support it. Right, I've cut out around the grip more to get rid of that knot and shaped it, and I've also decided because of that it will now sit more comfortably at this point here. and the arrow pass can be about here. That's the centre of the bow, but that's not necessarily where you hold it. So if I shift it to there, that will please all those people who were worried about the fact that the bow was tilting. Yeah, but it's tilting the other way now. It doesn't matter which way it tilts in the slightest, because there's so little force on it. As soon as I hang my balance on it, it shifts it. As you start applying more force, so let's exaggerate it. If we say moved our hand down a bit, so it will still try and settle, but you can see the tiller does actually look different. The left limb's bending a lot more if we have our hand lower down. So the position of the hand, supporting it and drawing it, does matter, which is why people who shoot with 3 fingers under the arrow can spoil the tiller of a wooden bow. Probably haven't convinced anyone, but it doesn't matter, you can do it exactly how you want. You can clamp it or you can move it free. It's just my view is that allowing it to pivot and move freely is much more a realistic simulation of how the bow is shot. Actually, I think the left is slightly weak now. We need to get this limb moving a bit more. Any changes you make do affect things. That's where the arrow pass is going to be. That's how it's going to be gripped and shot. Because of the weird shape of the handle, it'll probably get shot like that. The grip's not stupidly big. It's giving us a longer, lower limb, which looks slightly weaker, but I could take another inch off there. That lower limb was a couple of inches longer than the upper, measuring from what was the centre of the bow. So I sawed that bit off the end. It's only about an inch. Always cut off half of what you think you ought to, which of course has moved the centre now. So everything's all flexible. That was our arrow pass, so let's just see. Yeah. That's hooking the bow on opposite the arrow pass. One advantage of taking that little bit off that limb is it will stiffen it up slightly. All this endless faffing about. It's £40 at about 23. Yeah, this upper limb's looking a bit stiff here. You'll also notice the brace height's up a bit. Because the bows, I've taken an inch off the limb, I've had to thread the string round my magic toggling ring a couple of times. So we're getting closer to full brace, we're getting closer to an even tiller, we're closer to knowing where we're going to grip the bow and shoot the arrow. It's all getting there slowly. It's a lot closer to a full brace, which is making me a lot more nervous, of course. We've still got this awkward little deflex bend there, which I don't like, and it makes that limb look weak. I've taken quite a bit off the belly along here, mostly along the back edge, because this limb's trying to twist this way slightly due to the waggle in it sideways. Of course I'm a lot more nervous now, and it might go bang and all the rest of it. But you've got to remember, this was always just a bit of experimentation with the worst side of it. Yeah, nearly 25. Yeah, we've got 25 inches at 40. Well, that's near as, damn it. 28 inches, we're getting very, very close. So, all of a sudden we've gone from it being uncomfortable in the grip, all sorts of wobbly, to almost there. The big factor that's determined the bow really was that knot, and by sawing that knot out, it was there. It's determined where the grip is. I mean, the arrow pass is still quite a long way down from where the knot was, but your hand sort of fits over that bulge and it will shoot like that. Obviously it'd suit a left-hander really nicely, wouldn't it? But unfortunately the bloke who gave me the stave isn't left-handed. Look, you see, there's your sight window. Amphibious, you can shoot it with either hand underwater. Before I pull it any further, I need to clean up the back carefully, because we don't want it, if there's any discontinuities, saw marks or anything, it could suddenly just go ping. So I'll clean the back up some more, round the edges, round the corners and the edges. I might, while I've got my wallpaper steamer, I might steam this area and get this nasty deflex bend out of it. But basically you could put a string on that and shoot an arrow out of it, and were you in the wilds you could get your dinner.